Okay, so this morning I was going through, like I do every single day, just looking at basically what is it that kind of stuck out to me today when I was like perusing on social media and YouTube. And usually I see whatever the algorithm brings up, and I consider like what is the opinion, what is the perspective, what is it that the majority of the like energies that I feel. And a lot of what's been going on lately that has been talked about is awakening, obviously. So I wanted to discuss the difference between understanding duality and seeing your awakening as coming out of that duality, and yet we still have a problem with understanding the duality itself. So we have a tendency to state that life is all about love and light, and a lot of I don't want to call anybody out, obviously, because it's not about judgment. It's a matter of are we understanding it from more than one perspective? And that is exactly what I'm here to do. I am not telling you that I know the truth. I am not telling you that I have the answers. I'm not telling you that I know everything, because only the wise man knows that he knows absolutely nothing, right? So I want to offer a completely different perspective on a specific kind of energy, and that is the energy of, waking up from the illusions. And a lot of the times we see the devil energy as the energy that is what keeps us, quote unquote, trapped, right? So I don't want to look at this from the perspective of you are here to awaken the collective. That's not what I'm here. That's not what I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about the actual journey of the soul. So this is beyond like, I'm not talking about those who consider themselves as the 144,000. That I feel is a misinterpretation as well. But I want to talk about the normal evolution of the soul when we incarnate as a flesh being, okay? Now, I say that because I don't want to limit us to the human experience, because when we incarnate, it doesn't necessarily have to be human. I do not say that we are the only kind of beings out there. There's far too many stars and far too many planets within the Goldilocks zone for us to be able to say there's absolutely no other life out there. I'm sorry, but the likelihood of us being the only intelligent race or conscious race is asinine to me. Now, asinine, for those of you who are unaware, is pure silliness. Absolute silliness. To consider ourselves with our very young, in comparison, solar system and the location of our solar system, it just, to me, doesn't seem like it's likely that we're the only ones out there, right? So I don't want to say when we incarnate as a human, because there are so many different levels into which we can incarnate. And so when we choose to incarnate here on Earth in this particular environment, we come here to learn a lesson or many lessons. Just depends on how much you decide to take on in your life. So when we come into this world, we have a plan prior. This is the particular lessons that I want to learn so that I can evolve my soul, getting past the particular lessons of that particular lifetime. Okay? Now, when we talk about incarnation, we have to understand that when you add density onto anything, it creates a casing, Okay, so think about your soul as limitless flow. Okay, when you trap your soul into a physical being, a physical vessel, you end up creating density around your soul. Okay, so think about that density, the third density that we're in, as kind of like insulation. Okay, your flow now has a little tube around it. Okay, like wire. Okay, so you now have insulation around your soul. This is your body. Okay, that creates, I don't want to say interference or static, but it creates a slight barrier. That barrier can be transcended. However, it requires us to be conscious enough to understand that there is a signal that is coming into us that we cannot understand unless we transcend that density. Meaning, we have to learn how to focus our attention for long enough to be able to remove the identity that creates the density. Does that make sense? Okay. So while we are in this dense state, we are forgetful. We forgot that we came from eternity to live a finite life, to learn and understand that which we have and appreciate it even more. Okay? I say this all the time. You cannot truly understand peace unless you understand war. So when we go from being infinite beings, we have less appreciation, if you will, for being an infinite being until we become a finite being and see what it's like to live a limited experience in a body. Okay? This gives us a better appreciation of our infinite existence when we have a finite experience. Okay? Now, I wanted to speak to you specifically about the devil energy. Okay, this is Saturnic energy, and I am very soon going to be starting a series on the astrology and what I found to be a pattern of healing within the zodiacal charts. So I'm going to do that because I feel like this is a great lesson for us to learn as humans. Okay, so the devil energy on your traditional tarot, I didn't grab out a traditional tarot. I don't remember. Yeah, this is my traditional one. Okay, on the traditional tarot, everybody who watches tarot knows that the devil card has the devil energy, and then it has two humans that are attached by chains to the pedestal on which the devil energy is sitting. Again, this is Saturnic energy, and if we look at the actual house of Saturn and what it is actually meant for, it's actually meant for us to learn responsibility, okay? And that's exactly what I want to talk about, okay? So on my particular deck that I absolutely love, the imagery is never like the traditional tarot imagery, and this one in particular has things that are not in your normal tarot, but it also has things that it does. Okay, so this is your normal-ish, like this is what it typically looks like. You have your Saturnic energy on top of the podium, and you have your two slaves that are attached, okay? Masculine and feminine attached to the Saturnic energy. On this one, which is my the Tarot of the Sacred Kingdoms. Fantastic tarot. I love it. This one has that devil energy, but it only has a single human energy there. Not a lot of the energies on this deck are human in form, but this one does look like it's human in form, and she is standing next to, well, kneeling in front of this beast, okay? Now, when we look at Saturn, okay, and if we're looking at it from the perspective of Saturn is there to test our responsibility, okay, a lot of people see this devil energy as something that sucks them in, okay, and keeps them trapped. And that's part of, part of the trap, right? Is to believe that you are out of control and need whatever it is that is in this devil energy for you. Okay. And a lot of the times when we see the devil energy, we automatically assume it's some kind of addiction or something. Okay. Something that we don't have control over. And this is what is teaching us to become responsible and realize that it is necessary for us to make that hard decision every single time, regardless of whether it feels good in the moment. Is it good for us in the long run? This is how we learn responsibility, okay? If you think about it from like the perspective of a parent teaching a child, you are the one that is in this, that are in charge, basically. You are the one that is in charge of that Saturnic energy. When you are teaching your children responsibility by giving them chores, and then in some cases giving them a reward for doing these chores, we are teaching them to be responsible. But if we're only teaching them to do the chore to be responsible, we're not teaching them the basis of the lesson, which is cleanliness is next to godliness for a reason. When we take care of ourself, both internal and external, we are a well-oiled machine. When we take care of our environment and keep it clean, it stays standing for longer. And we don't get sick from the nasty environment, right? So we have to teach not only, this is what you should do, we need to give a reason. Because if we don't have a reason, what's the point of change? If you get what you want right now, why does it matter if you have to deal with it later? This is why we have to have a reason. I like to tell people, when you start to make a goal, when you sit down and you truly want to bring something into your life, and I'm not talking about like in how other people talk about manifesting. When you truly want to attract something into your life, how very interesting. This penny went missing earlier from my kitchen, and for some reason it's on my desk. That's crazy. Sorry, distractions. Okay, so when we give ourselves that reason and sit down, and when we want to make an actual goal, when we actually want to bring something into our lives, we need to understand the reason we want that in our lives. And I always tell people all the time, in psychology, we always talk about doing the 5 whys, okay? And it's not saying why 5 times, it's why. Okay, well, why is this important? That's why. Well, why is this important? Well, that's why. Why is this important? Well, that's why. 5 times, okay? So, for example, if you wish to bring in a new friendship. Well, why? Because I wish to have somebody to discuss things with that are on my level. Why? Because I don't want to feel like I'm the only one that feels this way. And then you just keep going on and on, okay? So this gives you a reason for change, okay? In the psychological world, they always say that the only time that change ever happens is when your life becomes so painful that you are forced to change. Why do you want to wait that long? Why do I want to wait until I'm a pile of fucking mess to induce change in my life? No, I don't. I know how that I can play the tape forward. If I continue down this path, this is going to end up in destruction. I'm going to cut that path off. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go ahead and redirect that path so I don't end up in destruction. But this is the reason why. And this energy is your responsibility, okay? He's not here to trap you. He's not. Saturn, or the devil energy, is here to be that gatekeeper. This is where you guys need to evolve the understanding, because if you want to get past duality, you have to stop seeing this is bad. It's not. It is simply a step in your evolution. If you continue to say yes to that which traps you in the 3-dimensional world, that is you, not the devil energy, he's going to gladly give you whatever you want because you're asking for it. If you continue to ask for it, you will continue to get it. Oh my goodness, that is so awesome. Again, sorry, distractions. Okay, you're going to get that which you ask for. Because every time you ask for it, this is a signal and a cue to the devil energy, the Saturnic energy. you're not ready yet. You have to be the one that is powerful enough to walk away and say, you know what? Thank you, Saturn. You showed me what was keeping me in that place down there. I appreciate you. I release all attachments to this or that or this person, and I elevate myself. And then the Saturn energy is going to go, congratulations, here is your reward. Because if you think about Saturnic energy, this is the inversion of what? The divine. Every single energy has an inversion, right? A lot of the times we look at it as in the reverse in the tarot, right? But that isn't necessary. This energy is the exact same energy as the divine, but in inversion. The divine will give you that which is a blessing. The inversion of that is that which is getting you trapped. The divine will also give you what you wish for. So will the Saturnic energy. They're the exact same energy, but in inversion. So if this is the ruler of the inverted three-dimensional world, and you wish to rise above that three-dimensional world, you have to learn how to rise above the energy by removing the duality. This is not evil. It's inverted. This is the same energy as the divine. As above, so below. You're getting what you want. Are you strong enough to walk away from that energy? Nothing to do with him. Everything to do with you. Stop blaming the Saturnic energy. You are the one that is agreeing to that which you take from the Saturnic energy. Every time you want to blame somebody else, look within. Why is it that you are, yet again, in a karmic relationship? Did you learn your lesson, or did you rush back into love without actually understanding the energy of love? Everything has two sides. Every coin has both a heads and a tails. Energy is no different. And if we see energy, I'm going to do it this way. This is actually quite entertaining that this worked out this way. Okay, so if we look at the energy of love as a flow, not a straight line, obviously. Waves and or straight line if being observed, but we're going to say that it's just a wave, okay? When we are in a karmic connection, it's still the same soul, just inverted. They have lessons that they have to learn as well, or they are your lessons and they agreed to be your lessons prior to coming into this life. It has nothing to do with evil or not evil. It has everything to do with, is this your lesson? That's the removal of duality. Yes, there are energies out there that are very, very, very dense. They're meant to be dense. Everything has to be in balance. Okay? Every inversion has to have an equal and opposite in reality and beyond. Okay? So when you look at the people in your life as evil or wrong, you're missing the lesson. Has nothing to do with them. Nothing has anything to do with anybody else except for you. You have a particular path you are meant to follow, just like everybody else. Which is exactly why we have to understand that this is just the inversion of the divine. Just as benevolent, but here to test your resolve. I love you guys. And I truly, truly hope this helps. I'll talk to you later. Bye.